only got a little piece of paper. I didn't skip anyone back, did I? Okay, so what you're looking at here, we have key ideas. We talked about perimeter last week, we talked about circumference, we talked about area. These are our basic formulas that we need to use. Okay, we had 4 objects, 3 of which are actual polygons, and 1 is a conic section, it's the circle, it's a curve. They have different formulas. The goal today is to go through a couple examples to show you kind of what to do, how to do it, just kind of general checks to see how well you're doing. I'm basically going to try to do 1 problem of each type today. For the rectangle and square, they're the same formula. I know they look different, they're the same formula, it's length and width. That's the same thing as taking both sides times each other, because the sides are the same. S times S is S squared, because they're the same length. But we're going to try 1 of each. So as I go through an example, I'm going to have you try 1 on your paper for the next example that we do. So does that make sense? I'll do an example, you'll try 1, we'll do an example, you try 1. That way you get to at least try, you know exactly what to do. I'm just going to do 3 problems. You'll have 3 problems in your little piece of paper after we're done. You'll turn it in. Then I'm going to give you some time today. Just kind of relax at the very end. I think we didn't have an assignment on Friday. That was your page 61 was due. So that was the stuff on vocab. But we should have a few minutes at the end of class. I don't know how long this is going to take. We're probably looking at an assignment probably tomorrow. Okay, so just kind of expect that some form of probably a worksheet tomorrow. It won't be a book assignment, so I'm actually going to hand out a worksheet tomorrow. We haven't had a worksheet for a while, so. Okay, all right, we ready to go? You guys know what you're doing? Okay, let's jump right in. Question?
You got a pen second.
Yeah, up here in the little cup. Let me just toss it to you. Should be good. Okay, come on.
Thank you.
Nice. All right, let's walk through the triangle first. So this should be in your notes. You don't need this on a little white piece of paper. Put it in your notes. Let's talk about a triangle here. Now I'm going to start with kind of just a real basic one here. This. What type of triangle are we looking at? Right triangle. These are the easiest types to do. I'll explain that here in a little bit. Going through this, let's just make up 3 numbers. Any 3 numbers you want.
10.
10. Give me another.
8.
8. And something less than 18.
17.
17. Okay. Now, let's talk about why it had to be less than 18. When you walk around the block, let's say you're standing right here, and you're going to walk around the block. That should be a longer distance than somebody walking the shortcut home, if that makes any sense to you. So walking around the block should be a longer distance than somebody walking shortcuts home. So that's just kind of common sense. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that this is actually a right triangle. In fact, it probably won't be. We're just going to assume it is. I'm not going to double check. I asked for numbers. There's a check to know if you have a right triangle. I'm just going to go with the numbers you gave me, just so you can prove the point here. Eventually, when we get to the later chapters, like chapter 8, we'll talk about right triangles, and we'll talk about why the numbers you picked are probably not a right triangle. Just saying. So, but anyway, we'll go through it. So, perimeter. Let's talk about that first. So these are going to be the problems we're going to be doing today. We're going to have to find perimeter for this object. What is perimeter again?
Like all the sides added up.
All the sides added up. So boom, 10 plus 8 plus 17 in no particular order. And that would be your perimeter. We'll label with capital P. If they had any labels, maybe these are in inches or feet or yards, you just keep the label on it. So let's give it a label. Let's talk about, let's say they're in feet. So this is the feet. It'd be miles from all I know, but these will be in feet. So when you add these all up, 27 plus 8, what is that? 35 feet?
Yeah.
35 feet, that'd be your total. That's it. That's all you have to do. Questions with perimeter. It's the easiest thing in the world. Just add. We probably did that in elementary days. Now, let's talk about area. So, again, unfortunately this is not a right triangle, but we'll just assume it is. How do you find area? You take the base times height, so you can see that here. Base times height, and then you have to cut it in half. And then that'll give the area. Now what area stands for? It's how many little square tiles you can fit in here. So this 8 means you can have 8 tiles going this way. 8 feet tiles, right? That's what the 8 means.
So 40.
So, okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. So for area, you hear Cody there, he did quick math, right? He's taking the 8 times 10. That's base times height. This is the base. This is the height. And again, on a right triangle, how you know that? It's because the base and height have to be at right angles from each other. So you multiply those two together, and then you cut that answer in half, whatever those multiply out to be. So you're hoping that it's an even number, so that when you cut it in half, it's really nice and clean, but it could be a decimal. So 80 cut in half, is the 40 like you said. Now the label, it's square feet, because that's what area stands for. It's how many square units. So in our case, it's square feet, or you can write feet squared like this. It's the same thing. It's the same label. Questions with that? Now, let's talk about why. This is something that some people like. Perimeter makes sense. You just add the walls, fine. Just the perimeter around the outside of your pin or whatever you're building here. But area, why does this work? Why would it be 40? Okay. Here's the best way I can describe it to you. Easiest way I can describe it. Why it's base times height cut in half. Because they're assuming it's a rectangle. And how you find how many squares in a rectangle, you take length times width or base times height. And since we're doing a triangle, it's exactly half of that distance, if you can see that. It's half of the rectangle, that's why they cut it in half. That's the easiest way I can describe it to you. Now, it gets a little goofy when you pick pictures like that, but you guys get the idea. All right, questions at all about the first one? Now, let's just talk about this picture that they give you. A lot more numbers than yours. I know, there's like 3 numbers there. And on the outside, then we have the height in the middle. This triangle wasn't a right triangle. They dropped the height in the inside. That's fine. The perimeter, you still add up the outside walls, not the height, right? The outside walls, that's perimeters, the outside of the fence, the outside of the object. But when you want to find the actual area, you take the base, this is the whole base, times the height, and then you cut it in half. So you can just use the 2 numbers to find the area of the base and height. Okay, questions with the 2 different ideas that we're talking about there? Okay, let's go to your white piece of paper now. Let's number this number 1. Let's number this number 1. Let's do a triangle here. Okay. All right, for your triangle, let's go with triangle. I'm just going to pick some easier numbers. Let's go with like 3, 4, and 5. 3, 4, and 5. This one's right. Okay, so what I want on your problem, draw your picture right on your paper. Put the 3, 4, and 5. What labels do you want to put on this? Do anything, metric system?
Centimeters.
Centimeters. Let's do that. Click on the draw. Centimeters. Sorry. They're all in centimeters. Okay, so first thing I want, draw it. Let's find the perimeter. So write that down. You can use your little calculator to take it down. And then I want the area as well. And I want the labels on it. That's the big thing I want to look for. Do you understand how we do the labeling system? So again, find perimeter. That's the distance around the outside. And then find the area. Now for area, remember we're using base times height. The base and height should be at 90 degrees from each other. We'll go through the answers here in a minute. Remember, this is just a trial. See how you're doing. You feel like you're obligated to get 100% on all of these. I like to do these to start with. You get to try some, see how you're doing. I get to check them out. We got another minute or 2 here. You need it? I don't know. Do you need a calculator? Let me know. We're struggling on that part of it. Try to pick easy numbers so you shouldn't have to worry about it. just a reminder, there's cross country here at home tonight. It's a home meet, so if you're around, go out to the golf course. Root on our cross country numbers. Good luck to all of you that are here. We got volleyball tonight with JV and JJV at Belmont tonight. So, and the younger groups going on Belmont. Starts at 5:30, and then we have JV football here tonight against Roland Story City. I've never even heard of them. So they start at 6. So it's here at home. So you got lots of stuff you can support tonight. We got a volleyball tournament tomorrow, or volleyball game, I should say, not a tournament, but that's at Hampton Dumont. Quite a ways away.
Times are different.
Times are different on that one?
So JV and JJV will play at 6.
Okay.
Varsity starts at 7:30.
Oh, 7:30, interesting, okay. Just because of travel time? Or?
They're in a different league thing.
Oh, conference, okay, yeah, their conference starts later. Interesting, okay, so yeah, good to know. Games start later tomorrow. And then Wednesday is early out, so we got some volleyball later this week. We got another cross country meet this week, and we got varsity football at Okaboji this week. So lots of stuff. ACT deadlines coming up here for our people that are taking classes. All right. Okay. We ready to go on this one? Did I give you guys enough time to work on it? If I did. Okay, let's talk about it. Somebody want to walk me through? What do we do for perimeter? Please.
You're gonna do 3 plus 4 plus 5.
Good. What do you get?
I got 11.
Okay. A little bit off. 3 plus 4 plus 5, 12. Fine. Now, redeem yourself. What's the label on it?
Centimeters.
Boom. Okay, good pickup on that one. All right, so we got 12, right? 12 centimeters. Any questions on the perimeter? That was good. Okay, area. Somebody else now. Thank you for that. Somebody else. Area. What do we do? Area. Please.
3 times 5.
3 times 5. Okay. So, not quite. It would be 3 times
4.
4.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because for area, you got to pick the 2 walls that are 90 degrees from each other. And how you know that? The 2 walls that touch the 90. Okay. So 3 times 4. Okay. What do we get? 12. Okay. And label. Make up for it. Centimeters. Squared. Or square centimeters, however you want to write it.
It's
So.
just, you have to do it.
Oh, and cut it in half. Yes, we have to cut that in half still. So you're absolutely right. So 12, and we have to cut that number in half, which is 6 centimeters squared. Yeah, so almost forgot the half part. So now, again, that's the tricky part. When you're looking at a triangle, you always have to pick the 2 walls that touch the 90, so don't forget that. Yeah, because they can switch the triangles around. All right, good. That's why we do these things. We got to get things cleaned up a little bit, figure it out. Okay, any questions you guys have, especially about the weird picture they have on the board or any of the 2 that I had chosen? Okay, we'll do a couple more of these tomorrow. I might pick like tomorrow's example. I might use that triangle and throw some numbers at you. Just because it's kind of nice to see different types of triangles, not just always a nice clean one like I've been giving you. It's sometimes nice to change it up a little bit. So that'll be tomorrow. Let's keep going. Let's talk about the rectangle or square. I'll let you guys kind of choose. Square. Okay, let's do an example of a square. We'll do the same stuff. We'll do perimeter. We'll do area. These are usually a lot easier. Rectangles and squares are super simple. How you find them. But let's just do some different numbers here. Just kind of pick up some numbers. So we'll pick a square. Let's go with yards this time. We haven't picked yards yet.
3
And
yards.
say it again.
3 yards.
3. Okay, let's do 3. So this is square. So we have right angles in the corners. All the walls are the same. This is a square. Okay. Perimeter. Perimeter. How do we find it?
Oh, not 9, 12 yards.
12. Okay, how do you get 12?
You're gonna do 3 yards for each one of the sides. 4
Exactly.
sides.
Exactly. You're gonna have all those 3s. You're gonna get 12 yards total. Okay, good. Nice. Area.
3 times 3.
3 times 3. Because on area, if you're looking over here, it's you take the side and square, or just take the side times itself. That's what a square means. Or length times width. It's the same formula. I just think of it as length times width. I don't want to confuse anybody. So we're doing the 3 yards times 3 yards. So we're just multiplying those 2 together. So 3 times 3. And the variable will be yards squared. So this will end up being 9 yards squared. We don't have to cut it in half. We're not doing a triangle or anything like that. It's just that's the answer. Now again, what this is standing for. The easiest way I can explain it to you, in terms of like, why is that the area? I don't understand area. Imagine that they were telling you by these 3 how they're breaking up the bottom into like, this means 3. You have 3 individual boxes down here. And then going up, you have 3 individual boxes here, like this. There's 3 going this way, 3 columns, or sorry, 3 rows, and then there's 3 columns going up. And you have a total of 9 boxes. That's what area is. How many perfect square tiles you'd put in there. Okay, questions about that? Okay, paper now. Let's go back right to your paper. We're gonna go right into it. Again, the square and the rectangle are the same formula. You add up the walls, or you just take length times width, however you want to think of it. Okay, so let's do an easy example of this. This one shouldn't take us too long. I think this is probably the easiest one we have. Okay, so we have a, let's go with a rectangle here. Let's see, so this is our example. So this should be on that little slip of paper now. Should be your second problem if you want to label it. Number 2, let's give it some length. So let's go with 20 inches going down, and let's go with 8 inches going across. So 20 by 8. Okay, same exact thing. I want perimeter, I want area. Let's do those 2 parts first. So 20 and 8. Figure out perimeter, figure out the area. I'll give you a few minutes here. I'll give you 2, 3, 4 minutes. And work on it. We'll go through the answers just so you can kind of know me, kind of see it. Probably figure it out pretty quick here. Cell phone going off in the background. More time? No, on this one. Okay. All right. Let's walk through it. Somebody else now. Thank you for all the volunteers up to this point. Somebody new now. How do we find perimeter? Please.
2 times length and 2 times width.
Okay, good. Okay, so if you're really looking at the formula up there, you can take 2 times the length and 2 times the width, then just add them up, right? So, because there is 2 lengths and there is 2 widths, and I don't care which one's length and width to you. What do we get as a total? What do we get as a total for that? 56, okay. Because it's 20 plus 20 plus 8 plus 8, you should get 56. Now label for perimeter. Inches. Yeah, should be inches. Okay, you don't have to have anything fancy. You can just add them up. 20 plus 8 plus 20 plus 8, doesn't matter. You want to take 1 times 2 and the other one times 2 and add them together, that's fine. That's what the book says. Doesn't matter. Okay, all right, thank you for that. Somebody else now. How do we find area?
You multiply 20 by 8.
20 times 8, yep. So you multiply, and what do we get? We get 20 times 8.
160.
160, and label. Inches squared, yeah. Inches squared. So now this one would be really big. This one's actually really hard to show. You have to have 20 boxes going up, and then 8 boxes going across, and you'd have a total of 160 boxes if you count them all up. That's the idea. That's what they're saying. There's 160 square inches in that little object. Okay. Questions? Perfect. Let's talk about the circle now. It's our last drawing of the day. So we're in our notes now. Let's go back to our notes. Let's talk about the circle here. Now, circle will be one of our last major items we talk about at the very end of the year. It's our last chapter. It's like chapter 11 or 12. I don't remember the exact chapter. It might be even 13 in the book. I'll have to go look at what number it is. It's the last chapter I always finish with. It's the last one in early May that we start and we finish it up before the semester tests. The final semester test, I should say. But now, on a circle. Okay, there's 2 numbers that you could be given. Could be given diameter or a radius. Diameter, if you don't know, is the distance across. That's a diameter. It goes right through the center. It has to cut it through. That number, fine. If you're given that number, fine and dandy. That's great for one thing, but usually what you want is the radius. This is a radius. It is the most important number on a circle. It's the diameter cut in half, right? So if you have the diameter and they told you what it is and you cut it in half, boom, there it is. So if they told you the whole diameter here is 10, this radius would be 5, and let's say that's 5 meters. Okay, so that's your radius. Now, why that's important? If we need to find circumference for a circle, not perimeter. Now we're finding circumference. That's the distance around. It is the distance from this point, and if you were to go around the circle and come back to here, that's the actual linear distance you traveled. So the best way I always explain it is like if you had a car tire, you mark the tire itself, you mark the ground right where you start, you roll it on flat ground so it spins all the way around one full circle, 360 degrees, and you mark right where that mark hit the ground again. And then you can traverse the ground and see how far you traveled linearly. That's the idea. That's what circumference is. It's the actual distance. Now, if you had a cloth tape measure, just wrap around the tire and measure. Tires are a lot bigger than you think they are. Typical car tire, right? 16 inches, 18 inches. You can travel 3, 4, 5 feet on just one roll. It travels a long way just for one roll. Now, for circumference, we have a formula. You can see it over there. It's 2 times pi times r. That's the formula that you have for circumference. Or, if you rearrange those, you could have it as 2 times r times pi. Pi is the number that's right up here, 3.14. I usually go about 4 decimal places, so 3.1415. It's this mythical number out there that they figured out applies to every circle. It doesn't matter if it's a baseball, a softball, basketball, a car tire. Pi is involved in it. It's this number that makes it perfectly round. So you take 2 times r times pi. Now, if you don't have the r and you have diameter, well, 2 times r is diameter. So you could just take the diameter times pi. It's the same thing. 2 radiuses is 1 diameter. So that's where the diameter could come into play. So it didn't matter which number you had. Now, my radius is 5. So I can plug that in. So 2 times 5 and then times pi. Right? My radius is 5. And so I'd multiply that, that's 10, and you take that times pi. And this would be in meters. This is the exact answer. Notice I just left pi sit there. You leave pi like it's a variable, like an x or a y. You just leave it on the back. Now, I do want the decimal form of it. So everyone should have a pi button on your calculator. If you don't know where it's at, my pi button is usually about... Oh, it's right there. You can see it. Usually it's in the secondary menu. So if you have my calculator, you can just type in the 10, you take it times pi, so you hit the pi button, and it'll tell you 3.14 across the screen. You multiply it, and it should tell you 31.41592 blah, 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 blah meters. Correct? If you did it right on the calculator?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the number I'm looking for. Okay, 4 or 5 decimal places, somewhere in that ballpark. It's in meters, so that's what you get. Okay, so Yeah, kind of a long distance. Now again, if you can't find the pi button, let me know, I'll help you out. Usually it's a little button, you can hit it. Sometimes it's in the secondary key, so you have to hit a little second or shift key, and go find it, and then it'll pop up, and then you can take it times 10, in this case. Okay, questions on circumference. Area now. Let's talk about area. All right, so for area, if you're looking over there, area is pi times r squared. So what that means, and how I always remember the formulas, because I know that's a hard part for people, it's like, how do you memorize that? How do you know if it's 2 pi r or pi r squared? Well, area is always in squares, right? Like square feet. So that's how I remember which one is which. It's r squared. So what that means, this is a big fancy way of just saying r times r. So it's pi times r times r. That's all it's saying. That's literally what it means. So it's pretty easy. So it's, so in my particular problem here, I'm taking pi times 5 times 5. That's literally what I'm doing. So, and that ends up being 25 pi, and that would be meters squared, or square meters. Because this is how area is always labeled. It's always labeled little squares. In our case, it's square meters. And that's the exact answer. And then if you take, 25 times pi, you're probably looking at, what is it? What would that be? 25 times pi, you're looking at like 76 point something, maybe even 80. Say again? 78.5. 78.5? Sounds about right to me. And that'd be meters squared. Anyone else get a different number than that? That sounds about right. It's gotta be in that range. 3 times 25 is about 75, so I knew it had to be in that range. Pi is about 3. Okay, I'm gonna put a problem on the board. This is our last problem of the day, and then you'll have about 10 minutes, like I said, you'll be able to relax here. Put one problem on the board, I wanna see how you do. So you can go back to your little piece of paper. This should be your third problem and final problem of the day. You'll turn it in when you're done. I just wanna see kinda how you're doing. All right, so example, let's talk about your circle. Any number you want. What do you want to do? And not 5. Don't pick 5. You want a radius? You want a diameter?
10 for radius.
10 for radius. Okay, let's do that. 10, and let's go with feet. Yeah, and on feet for a while. 10 feet. Okay, there's your circle. Let's draw it. So you have a circle with a radius of 10 feet. Sorry, it's really bad. 10 feet. I want to find the circumference of it, so that's like the perimeter of it, but circumference is the better word. I have the formula on the board here, I'll left it there. Give me the exact answer, give me the decimal of it. If you're struggling to get the decimal to spit out in your calculator, just let me know, because some calculators are like super nice. They don't spit out the exact answer, or they don't spit out the decimal. You have to like hit a button on your calculator to spit out the decimal. So I'll let you write that down. We'll talk about it here in a minute. It's our last problem of the day, and I'm just going to kind of relax. I think I uploaded Friday's film. I think it worked. Uploaded the film. I tried to update the website. I'm going to start cruising through tonight. I think I already have like 5 days worth kind of uploaded, and I'll just post them to the website, and I'll just keep going back, and I'll filter back, and all the videos will be there. You can go back and watch any of the previous days. So, because now that we have a ton of people gone for COVID, I probably need to get on that a little bit better than I have.
You should be your calculator to borrow.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
There you go. I don't blame you. These numbers are just a little bit bigger. Well, yeah, because I need the decimal form for sure, but I also want the exact answer. Exact answer is where you just take the two numbers and put them together and put 5 behind it. We'll go through it here in a minute. I'll collect these, and if the bell goes off early, I'll still collect them.
What did you say? The exact answer?
Exact answer, you just take the two numbers and multiply them together, the two numbers, and then you just put pi behind it. So like what I did here, this is the exact answer. Give it another minute or two, I don't know if you need it, and we need a little more time. Now again, I do want the exact answer, and then I want the decimal. So I want like this looking thing where it has pi in the answer, and then I want the decimal, pi in the answer, and I want the decimal. So we'll go through each one here in a second. Okay, all right, let's go through the work here. Okay, somebody want to walk me through what do you do? How do we find circumference? Tell me the numbers. What do we multiply? What do we take times each other to figure out circumference? What's your radius? 10. So 10 times pi times 2. Right? That's what you're doing. So in no particular order, 2 times pi times 10. Okay, now if you reorganize them, because again, you can just reorder them, it's the same, it's called commutative property, you can move things around. That's what, 20 pi? That would be in what, inches? No, feet. Feet, sorry, I said inches, feet, right? That's the exact answer. Now, what do we get when we actually multiply that? Haley, what do you get on that?
62.84.
Say it again?
62.84.
What, 83 is what you said?
Mhm.
Okay, is that what everyone's getting?
Yeah.
About 62? That sounded about right. I looked at it. Okay, area, what do we multiply?
Pi times the radius squared.
Yeah, so pi times the radius squared. So my radius is 10, so it's 10 times 10. So it's 100. So the exact answer is 100 pi feet squared. That's the exact answer, right? It's 100, 10 times 10 is 100 pi's. And then when you actually multiply that, you should get like 314.1592 blah, 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 feet squared. That's the decimal, not the exact answer. Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna walk around, I'm gonna collect here in a minute, make sure your name's on it, make sure your period number's on there. I thought this was a nice little day to kind of intro what to do, you get to practice a little bit, doesn't matter if you get it right or wrong. It's kind of nice to get a little bit of warm up, and just watching me do it all the time, you get to try it out yourself. Smith, I think the West Hancock game was